JBN, we keep you informed. I am Michelle Jones, and in the news, relatives say child needs counseling after witnessing mother's death. An 8-year-old child who ran frantically from his home and alerted relatives that his mother was killed on Monday reportedly recounted how the suspect lifted him up after the attack and glared at him before leaving. The child, the youngest of two for the deceased woman, was not physically harmed. The 35-year-old attacker turned himself into the police in the company of his supervisor a few hours after the tragedy, which has stunned the community of Dunfer, Loydesville in rural St. Catherine. Relatives are hoping that the child receives counseling after being the sole witness of the gruesome incident which claimed the life of his mother, 24-year-old Alicia Patience, otherwise called Lisa, about 7 p.m. on Monday. Marlene Jarrett, a cousin of the deceased, said that she is glad the child was not hurt, but is concerned for him and his grandmother, who has since been hospitalized following the disturbing news. The little boy burst with and come out of the house and say, "Ex-kill mommy." So me say a lie you are telling him say, "Yes, ex-kill mommy," Jarrett said. Him say when him kill him mother, him lift him up so and put him back down, she added. Fearfully, Jarrett entered the house with caution and was shocked to see Patience lying on the bed. "Me freeze, the whole of her neck full of blood," she said. The man in custody is the common law widower of the deceased. Residents said there were telltale signs that the relationship had crumbled and became increasingly toxic, with reports of quarrels, destruction of a shop, and the severing of parts' heads. The two reportedly maintained communication despite their disputes. The relatives showed journalists the blood-soaked bed and sheet they have since thrown outside. Patience was an occasional hairstylist. The suspect reportedly worked as a cane cutter at a nearby farm. Residents said Patience was often warned to be careful and that her mother was critical of the relationship, which had been ongoing for about 3 years. "If you see him look like him can't mash hands. If you see him, he come in like him all dumb," a resident said. A senior policeman with knowledge of the investigation said that the suspect is on suicide watch after uttering that he is praying he will see the deceased again. They had a dispute, and let us put it this way, a lack of attention and the fact that she might be looking in another direction. He is not supported by the family, the cop said. During the dispute, a knife came into play and she was wounded in the neck area, the senior crime investigator said. Driver and passenger in fatal Clarendon crash out of hospital. A truck driver and his passenger, who were injured in the Bustamante Highway crash that killed 2 people on Monday, have been released from hospital. According to a source at the Four Parts police station, both of them have provided statements on the crash involving the truck and a coaster bus, and neither of them has been detained. 54-year-old bus driver James Davis, otherwise called Prento, and his passenger, Glenmore Price, otherwise called Blackashine, died on the day of the crash. The men were reportedly traveling to Maypen when the collision occurred about 5 a.m. Price, who lived in Four Parts, Clarendon, operated a stall and was also a soup vendor. The police have appealed to eyewitnesses to provide any details that may help with their ongoing investigation. JLP councillor Christopher Towson pleads not guilty to fraud charges. Jamaica Labour Party JLP councillor for the Olympic Gardens Division in St. Andrew, Christopher Towson, today pleaded not guilty to fraud-related charges in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. The businessman is charged with aiding and abetting the fraudulent use of a license plate, aiding and abetting the fraudulent use of a license disc, conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy to deceive, accessory before the fact, accessory after the fact, and aiding and abetting the fraudulent use of a VIN plate. His co-accused, Bruce Stone, who is of a St. Catherine address, pleaded guilty. The men, who are each out on $100,000 bail, are to return to court on December 12. Allegations in the case of the Towson, who owns the fleet of buses, forged a license plate, a road license, motor vehicle fitness and registration documents, as well as a motor vehicle license disc, and gave them to Bruce, who owns a blonde white Toyota Coaster minibus. The court was told that the minibus was seized by the police on the Vineyard Stoll Road after the driver of the vehicle was held for committing breaches of the Road Traffic Act. Questions were raised about the documents furnished by the driver of the minibus, and Stone was contacted by the Island Traffic Authority. The documents were examined and defects were observed. An investigation was then launched and both men were later arrested and charged. Portland technician shot dead, body partially burnt. A technician was shot and killed by unknown assailants in Above Rocks, St. Catherine on Tuesday. He has been identified as Richard Hayes, a resident of Passy Gardens in Portland. According to reports, about 4 a.m. on Tuesday, residents heard a barrage of gunfire coming from an unfinished building in the area. The police were alerted, and upon their arrival, Hayes' partially burnt body was found under a pile of board. The body also had what appeared to be gunshot wounds. During the processing of the scene, 5 spent shell casings were reportedly recovered. Hayes was reportedly staying at the premises at the time of the incident. The St. Catherine North Police are investigating. Subcontractor charged after gun found in jacket. 50-year-old Michael Salmon, otherwise called Chaplin, a construction subcontractor of Love Lane in Canaanites, Clarendon, has been charged with illegal possession of a firearm. The gun was reportedly seized at his home on Monday, August 22. Reports from the Mapping Police saw that about 2:45 p.m., investigations led police officers to carry out an operation at Salmon's home. One Lorsing .25 pistol was found inside a jacket in a room. Trelawney man charged for beating man with hammer. A 28-year-old Trelawney man has been charged with wounding with intent after he allegedly used a hammer to hit a man on his head. Charges were at Griffiths of Hastings District in the parish. Reports are that on Friday, August 12, Griffiths and another man were involved in a fight, during which he used a hammer to hit the man on his head. The man reportedly lost consciousness and was admitted to hospital for treatment. Griffiths was later arrested and charged. His court date is being arranged. JPS says high production cost, a reason for rate increase. The Jamaica Public Service JPS has disclosed that it had requested a 2% increase in electricity bills as a result of several external factors, including the high cost of production. The Office of Utilities Regulation OUR on Tuesday announced that it has approved a rate review, which will result in a 0.7 increase for residential customers. Commercial customers will pay between 0.4% to 1.2% more. Winsome Column, Corporate Communications Director at JPS, said the average increase for residential customers will be fairly minimal. For instance, a customer uses about 200 kilowatt hours per month and usually pays about $14,000, with an increase of just under $100 on their bill. Still, Ms. Column acknowledged the reservations of customers, saying although the amount might sound small, she understood the concerns because nobody likes an increase. Column, who was speaking Wednesday in the morning agenda on Power 106, sought to explain the rationale for seeking a rate hike in the face of inflation affecting consumers. Among the reasons, she noted that it is expensive for JPS to keep itself going 24 hours a day to provide uninterrupted power supply to the country. The OUR said the 2022 JPS annual review is in keeping with the provisions of the Electricity License 2016, which allows for the realignment of the country's revenue targets each year against inflation and exchange rate movements. Column said renewables as a primary source of energy would be problematic. The suggestion for renewables to be used in that way had come from financial analyst Dennis Strong. However, Column argued that additional sources of energy would still be needed since renewables do not provide firm capacity, meaning they're not always available. She gave the example of the solar farm in Clarendon, which she said is not currently providing the JPS with electricity because of cloud cover and rain being experienced at this time. So we still have to have firm capacity power plants in place to provide backup power when the renewables go off grid, she insisted. Over 17,000 students pre-registered for Sixth Form Pathways program. More than 17,000 students have pre-registered for the Ministry of Education's Sixth Form Pathways program ahead of the start of the new school year in September. Education Minister Favour Williams made the disclosure while speaking today at the Jamaica Teachers Association's annual conference in Montego Bay, St. James. Williams charged that the interest from students is a positive signal for the program, which has faced criticism. The program will allow students who completed grade 11 to pursue a 2-year course of study with alternative opportunities alongside the traditional sixth form curriculum. The initiative came in response to a 2004 report from the Task Force on Educational Reform, which, among other things, highlighted shortfalls in the education sector. At that time in 2004, the report said, We believe that the most pressing issue is a chronic underachievement of the system in terms of the large number of students performing well below their grade level, and they had a number of recommendations, including extending the school experience from 11 to 13 years. We recall that today, what we have implemented is the Sixth Form Pathways program, said Williams. The program has been criticized in some quarters, with members of the opposition arguing that it is unsustainable and that focus should instead be placed on addressing the learning loss caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Williams argued that there is a need to fast-track implementation of recommendations to improve the education sector so that Jamaica does not have to wait almost 2 decades to see action taking place, as was the case in addressing the concerns raised in the Task Force on Educational Reforms report. 96 new COVID-19 cases, no deaths reported. The Ministry of Health and Wellness reported 96 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, August 23, bringing the infection total to 149,092. No deaths were reported. The new cases comprise 45 females and 51 males, with ages ranging from 1 day to 96 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew 33, Clarendon 14, St. James 11, St. Catherine 9, Trelawney 7, Manchester 6, St. Mary and Westmoreland 4 each, Hanover 3, Portland and St. Thomas 2 each, and St. Anne 1. St. Elizabeth was the only parish to record 0 cases. There were 93 recoveries in the last 24 hours, bringing the total to 95,976. Currently, 107 people are hospitalized, 17 of whom are moderately ill, 4 severely ill, and 3 in critical condition. Jamaica's positivity rate for the latest round of testing is 23.9%. In sports news, schoolboy football season returns. The Intersecondary Schools Sports Association ISA on August 24 announced that the 2022-23 schoolboy football season will kick off on Saturday, September 10 at Sabina Park. Kingston College had dethroned ISA Manning Cup champions Jamaica College in last year's competition. They beat their longtime rivals 5-4 in sudden death penalties in the final, played at Stadium East. Garvey Maceo High won their second ISA Da Costa Cup title and the first in 15 years. Since 2007, after hammering first-time finalist Manning Schools 5-0 at the St. Elizabeth Technical Sports Complex on January 21. Last year, the season culminated with Kingston College being crowned All-Island champions after defeating Garvey Maceo High 2-0 in the ISA Olivia Shield game at the State Sports Complex in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth on January 29. This season begins with the Da Costa Cup champions playing Kempsey High at 2:30 p.m. An official opening will be held at 4:30 p.m. Manning Cup champions Kingston College will face Calabar High School at 5 p.m. with a second match, St. George's College versus Harden High at 7 p.m. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.